And make sure you join our Facebook group. It's a brand new group for our K-8 audience, and I'll repost the link again. But this is a very exciting time. We're having this group, and it's really meant for our community to interact with one another and our educators and students. And we want to be able to provide as many resources and help in one place as we can. And it seems like Facebook is the place to do that. So we'd really appreciate it, and it'd be great if you guys join and become one of the founding members, actually, of our Facebook group, our community learning pod. Let's see, I'll post the link again right now. And we'll be getting started in about a minute. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're part of our WeChat or Facebook group and you filled out the registration form, you are all eligible for our raffle tonight. In case you weren't here when I mentioned it in the beginning, we're having a raffle tonight, and the lucky winner will receive one free class for our critical reading and writing series. It's exciting. We're doing these raffles live on Google Sheets using the random function. So this will be fun. All right, Laura, you ready?
I am ready.
Let's do this. Okay, welcome everybody to our very first episode of 7EDU's Community Learning Podcast episode number 1. This is meant for our K-8 families to really get an understanding and a feel for 7EDU's programs for our youth. It's generally 7EDU has been more focused on our high school students, but in recent years we've really been expanding to reach out to more of our younger audience and really put them on a foundational map to really succeed in standardized testing in college, in high school, everything. We want to give them very strong foundational skills and understanding of concepts, understanding of things like rhetorical appeal, as we're about to learn tonight. And it'd be great to have some feedback from you all as well. Like, we are building this program, and we currently have classes on, like, for example, public speaking with our professional actor teacher, Kapil Talwalkar. We have exploring the classics, analyzing literature, which is really advanced for young children. And we also have critical reading and writing. And many of these classes are in between kindergarten to 8th grade. So, if you'd like more information, visit our website or give us a call at any time. We'll be happy to help you. And now I want to present Laurie. He is going to be our host tonight, and he's going to be teaching us a lesson on rhetorical appeal. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be having a raffle afterwards in between the Q&A and his presentation. So let's everybody welcome Laurie Robin.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. I'm going to just start out right away by sharing my screen. So this will stop others from sharing. Yes, okay. I'll make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Okay. Let's see. Wait a minute. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to share already. I'm having hold on one second. Okay, here we go. Okay, we can all see that, right? Okay. Let me just turn that off. All right, here we go. All right, so today we're going to talk about what rhetoric is. Okay, so our learning targets today are we're going to learn what rhetoric is. Okay, and what a rhetorical device is, and we're going to look at several of those. And we're going to do this by analyzing several passages from a speech by Dr. Martin Luther King. We're also going to learn about these terms ethos, logos, and pathos, which you may or may not have heard before, but these are called modes of persuasion, and they are part of what we call a rhetorical analysis. In other words, we analyze how a writer, uses persuasion to appeal to the audience. So, like I've been mentioning, it's all about persuasion. Rhetoric is, in fact, the art of persuasion. We talked about these rhetorical devices, and we already defined them. There's the tools or strategies that a writer uses. And we also talked about modes of persuasion. So this is kind of going to be a two-part lesson. We're going to look at these devices first, and then we're going to talk about the ethos, logos, and pathos and what those actually mean. And we'll see examples of those. Okay. So let's first talk about the actual rhetorical devices themselves. And I want to start out, I'm sorry, let me go back for a second. These are the tools that a writer uses. They're verbal tools, really, in order to enhance the power of his or her argument. So I want to start out by looking at a section of that speech that we were talking about by Dr. King. And just so you know a little background, this was a speech called a time to break silence. And after many years, the Vietnam War was going on, and he finally decided to come out publicly against the war. He hadn't done that yet. And so this was his speech in which he did that. And in this, he talks about a lot of different things. And one of the things is a specific kind of revolution. We're going to hear a little bit of that right now. And I want you to listen and read it as you're listening. And I want you to pay close attention to these words that I highlighted and why you think I highlighted them. So let me first play this part.
A true revolution of values
Whoops.
will soon cause us to question.
Wrong one. This is the one I wanted. Hold it.
Against rebels in Peru.
Okay.
It is with such activity in mind that the words of the late John F. Kennedy come back to haunt us. 5 years ago, he said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." Increasingly by choice or by accident, this is the role our nation has taken. The role of those who make peaceful revolution impossible by refusing to give up the privileges and the pleasures that come from the immense profits of overseas investments. I am convinced that if we are to get on the right side of the world revolution, we as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society, when machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people. The giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. A true revolution of values.
Okay, we're going to stop there. Sorry. Sorry, I lost which screen I was on here. Bear with me. Okay. So let's look at that a little closer. If you noticed, I highlighted that one word revolution. And you'll notice he repeats that 5 times within that one paragraph, which is quite a bit for a single paragraph. So the idea is, what's he up to here, and why is he doing that? And really, it's a very, very simple form of repetition. He's just sporadically repeating that same word. And the effect is that it emphasizes it. It kind of, drums it into our brains a little bit as we're listening. This is just called repetition. It's just simple repeating of a word or phrase for emphasis. Okay, and he does that with the word revolution. Let's look at this. And here, this is a much longer passage. But again, I highlighted the part I really wanted you to look at. And what I want to do, I'm going to read out loud just the first sentence of each paragraph. And it goes, "A true revolution of values will soon cause us to question the fairness and justice of many of our past and present policies." Next paragraph. A true revolution of values will soon look uneasily on the glaring contrast of poverty and wealth. Next paragraph. A true revolution of values will lay hand on the world order and say of war, this way of settling differences is not just. So again, we have to ask, what is going on here? Why is he doing this? Well, this is also repetition, correct? I mean, he's repeating the exact phrase, a true revolution of values, but he's doing it in a much more intentional, much more structured way. And that type of repetition is called anaphora, Anaphora. And it's the repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of successive clauses, phrases, sentences, or paragraphs, as he does with a true revolution of values here. This has a little bit different effect than just simply repeating a word or phrase, because what this is it's repetition at very regular intervals. So it creates a very specific rhythm within the piece. It's almost like, waves crashing against the shore or drums beating in the background. It really draws the listener in when that kind of repetition happens. Okay, we're going to look at something else. I just put in bold type the whole kind of little mini passage I wanted you to look at here, but really, this is what I really want to draw your attention to, the part that I highlighted, life's roadside. So on the one hand, we're called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside. And then down here, it says, so that men and women will not constantly be beaten and robbed as they make their journey on life's highway. So what's going on here is he's taking this idea of a roadside and he's comparing it to life, or a highway. He's comparing it to life. But he's not saying life is like a highway or it resembled a roadside. No, he's actually saying it is. Life is a highway. And there's a very specific term for that. Some of you may already know it. It's called a metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or an action to which it's not literally applicable. Okay, so when he says life's roadside, he's using that as a way of making a point about life, that in a way life resembles a road. And so he's making a point about life that way. He's not literally saying it is a road. It's a figure of speech. Okay. Here's another one. And actually, I'm going to play the audio on this one too, because I want you to hear it. And by the way, I'm only playing the audio for a couple, but I think when it comes to King, it really helps to hear his voice speaking these words because it's so powerful. And I think let's see if I have the right place here.
The fairness and justice of many of our past and values will soon look uneasily on the glaring contrast of poverty and wealth.
Okay.
With righteous indignation.
Okay, so
look across the sea.
This is going to come up in a minute.
See individual capitalists of the West investing huge sums of money in Asia, Africa, and South America.
I think this is where I'm supposed to be. Bear with me for 1 second.
Profits out with no concern for the social betterment of the countries and say this is not just. It will look at our alliance with the landed gentry of South America and say this is not just.
Okay, here we go.
Western arrogance of feeling that it has
right
everything to teach others and nothing to learn from them is not just. A true revolution of values will lay hand on the world order and say of war, this way of settling differences is not just. This business of burning human beings with napalm, of filling our nation's homes with orphans and widows, of injecting poisonous drugs of hate into the veins of peoples normally humane, of sending men home from dark and bloody battlefields physically handicapped and psychologically deranged, cannot be reconciled with wisdom, justice, and love. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death.
Okay, so let's go back and look at that. What is he doing here? Again, something's being repeated, although the words themselves are not being repeated. If you look, of burning, of filling, of injecting, of sending, different words except for the word of, but there's something that's repeating here. And what's repeating here is a grammatical construction, okay? Every one of these phrases starts with the word of and ends up with a gerund form of an active verb, burning, filling, injecting, sending, okay? And that also creates a rhythm within the piece because you have this repetition of these verbal constructions. And even if you're not aware grammatically what's happening, you're aware kind of viscerally. You can kind of feel it. So again, parallelism is the use of successive verbal constructions in poetry or prose, which correspond in grammatical structure, sound, meter, meaning, etc. So we just looked at 1, 2, 3, 4 different devices of how an author uses rhetoric tools or devices of how an author uses verbal strategies. And now I want to talk about the modes of persuasion. This is a little bit broader of a category. We're not talking about specific tools or specific devices. We're talking about a general way that the author uses to make his argument appeal to his audience. Okay, so for example, an author might appeal to his own moral or ethical character or his reputation, so the audience knows that he's somebody that they could trust. Okay, that's called ethos. Also, a writer or a speaker might appeal to the sense of logic or reason. The argument that he's giving you makes sense. It's logical. Okay, and as the word logos suggests, that's what that's called, logos, when you use logic. And then finally, pathos, which means feeling. Okay, so when the writer establishes an emotional connection to the audience and transfers that feeling through his words to the audience, that's another way that he appeals to the audience. So orator and writer like King uses all three of these things in various times in his speech. So I'm not going to play anymore, but I want to look at a couple parts of those passages that we've been looking at and see if you can get the idea of what I'm talking about. So here's the first one. And I just want you to take a minute and just silently read the sections that I highlighted and see if you think, what is he doing? What kind of appeal is he trying to make to the audience here? Okay, so is that ethos, logos, or pathos? Again, how very delighted I am to be here tonight. I consider it a great honor to share this program. I've had the privilege of preaching here almost every year. This is what we call ethos. He is establishing his credentials with his audience. He's saying to the audience, you can trust me. I'm one of you. Okay, so that's called ethos. Let's look at this one. And I'm specifically looking at not only the highlighted areas, but what I put in bold, because if you just read those sections, it goes, it seemed as if, and then he says what it seemed. And he says, then came the buildup in Vietnam, so something else happened, okay? And then he knew something, okay? He knew that America would never invest. And therefore, because of these previous steps, he became compelled to do what he's doing. So you might get the idea that I'm trying to show you this is a step-by-step logical argument, okay? So is it ethos, logos, or pathos? It's logos, because he's logically spelling out how he came to this decision. He wants it to make sense to his audience. Don't forget, he had never been against the Vietnam War before. He was a preacher and he was involved in the civil rights movement. So his audience wants to know how he came to that decision, so he's telling them. Finally, this one here, we looked at this before, but this time I'm not just emphasizing the burning and the injecting, but these whole phrases here: dark and bloody battlefields, injecting poisonous drugs of hate. These are very emotionally charged phrases. Okay, it's very difficult to hear or read these things without feeling some kind of emotion. So clearly, what is he doing here? He's engaging in pathos. The graphically detailed descriptions of war and all of its horrors appeals directly to our emotions. Okay, so we've talked about pathos, logos, and ethos, and we talked about all of those devices. And we're going to go back really quick to our learning targets. And so by now, you all should be able to tell me what is rhetoric and give me at least a couple of examples of a rhetorical device. Also, you should be able to tell me what ethos, logos, and pathos are and how this relates to a rhetorical analysis, these modes of persuasion. So that's our lesson for today. I'm not going to give you a quiz or anything, but I just wanted to put that out there. And should I just stay on? Should I stop sharing, Ryan?
I'm gonna take over right now so we can do the raffle.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the share then.
Yeah.
And do I need to stick around for questions or anything, or?
Yeah, let's have you stick around until
I mean-
for the Q&A section.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Great. So, as many of you may know, we are having critical reading and writing classes. And so we are gonna raffle off one free class session in these class series. So I'm gonna be using this random between function. This is everybody who's registered for our event tonight. And so if your name is called, then just raise your hand or send us a message immediately. And if you don't message us within the first 30 seconds to a minute, then we're gonna raffle it again and find a new winner. Okay? All right, let's do this. Number 7. All right. Bea Collins. My apologies if I mispronounced it. Are you here? If you're here, please just raise your hand or send a message to the panelists with your email address. Bea Collins? Bea? If you're not there, then we're gonna go with the next winner. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, then we're gonna do a new winner. Number 6, Andrea Zhang. Are you here, Andrea? Hello. You can raise your hand and say hello. Don't be shy. Oh, hey, Andrea's here. Great. Congratulations. Andrea Zhang. Congratulations. You've just won one free session to our critical reading and writing series. So, we will email you with further details afterwards. Thank you so much for coming. Now we're going to go ahead with the Q&A section. So, Lori? Lori, are you there?
Hold on. Okay, I'm here. I'm just getting my
Okay,
video
let's-
and audio back up. Oh, okay.
Take some questions now. Which grade?
Okay. Let me see. Should I turn? Is it going to be through chat?
So yeah, somebody asked which grades are these is this class for? I mean, this particular lecture, you can tell them.
Yeah. Well, this is basically I'm teaching critical reading and writing middle school. I believe it's middle school, right? I haven't started
Like
teaching
5th
yet.
to 7th grade, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what exact grade. I thought it was middle school, but I wasn't sure which grade. So, but both the honors and the regular classes. So,
And we have critical reading and writing classes from K all the way to 10th grade. But this particular lesson on rhetoric was an intro for our grade 5 to grade 7 audience. Right. Yeah. And you can check out our website to see the full listing or give us a call at any time. These are really great classes and they're really meant to help build a foundation so that students can enter junior high school and high school with a really strong understanding of critical thinking, which personally, I believe that I think that's the most critical thing to learn at a young age, to develop like an enthusiasm for actually learning, right?
Yeah, and critical reading and writing, I mean, together kind of comprise critical thinking, but it's also a lot more than that. I always say that no matter what subject I'm actually teaching, I'm really teaching critical thinking.
Yeah.
Because, especially in today's world, yeah, you really have to know how to really think carefully.
Yeah. Okay, so we got another question from you and another question from Jess. We'll take yous first. What's the difference between regular and honor?
You know what? I'm gonna let you. Can you take that, Ryan? Because I don't know.
Well, honors classes are generally
more advanced.
They're more advanced. We usually have our students take a diagnostic and see what level they're at, and that's how we fit them in because we don't want people to struggle in a class when like everybody else is up ahead already. But we do offer both really advanced and generally advanced. I'd say both of the classes are advanced. To the person who asked if they may leave, yes, you may leave at any time. We're not forcing you to stay, but we are just asking more questions. And you can ask us anything about rhetoric, about 70DU, and yeah, just feel free to ask about our group, anything. Jess asked, does this include rising 8th graders or stops at rising 7th graders?
And I'm going to refer some of these questions to Ryan because I'm a new teacher. So, how the class are scheduled and levels and all that is more stuff that I'm not a little above my pay grade right now. So if it's a question like that, I might refer to Ryan.
Yeah, so our critical reading and writing classes, Lori is just one of many of our expert educators. Many of them have been teaching with 7EDU since we were started, and then others have been teaching. Generally, all of our educators have at least 10 years of expertise teaching. And so our critical reading and writing, the last grade that it extends to is grade 10. So we have a section for grade 9 and 10. That's our level 4 class. So we have level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Level 1 is for grade 3 to 5, and level 2, 5 to 7, level 3, 7 to 9, level 4, 9 to 10. Okay, let's see. What kind of homework?
That for critical reading and writing, again, we haven't started the classes yet, so I'm still prepping. But I believe that you're going to be writing 2 full-length essays during the class, so that you'll be doing mostly in your own time. I'm assuming we'll maybe give you some time during class to work on those and to kind of get some critiques and edit them and things like that. So there's writing homework. Other than that, it's just reading. It's just reading different selections that we'll be looking at each week.
Yeah, it'll be very similar to a college course. You'll have like a teacher's assistant sort, and they'll be assisting you as well. And a lot of it really depends on, what level the course is. But I'd say the homework is generally about you creating things and creating your own work or analyzing the works that we're studying in class, and then the teacher and the others will be giving you feedback. For example, they'll sometimes put up the anonymous feedback for every student to see, so that everybody can learn from everybody else's mistakes. And our homework is tailored for you guys personally. It'll really depend on the students, their needs, their level of understanding at a class at a certain time. So yeah, expect essays.
Yeah,
that's really the key thing, like essays and then revised essays and whatnot. Let's see. So another person asked, does the class need students to read ahead and analyze in class? If so, what are the books in the plan? Lori?
Well, again, I know that with the honors one, I'm just, again, I was going to teach the regular, I just got switched to the honors. So I'm still kind of, gathering all my lessons. But I know with the honors, we read fiction, we read some poetry, we read argumentative and persuasive essays, narrative essays. So there's a whole selection of different kinds of reading that we do. And as I'm looking through it, it's a lot of great stuff. And I think all the students are really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that question, we also have a different course for our K-8 audience called Exploring the Classics, Analyzing Literature. We had 2 different sections. Well, actually, technically 3. So we have grade 3 to 5 regular and grade 3 to 5 honors. They'll be reading A Christmas Carol. And then for our third section, it'll be for grade 6 to 8, and they'll be reading A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. And you will have to read about half of the book before the first day of class. So these are not easy, but they're not meant to be, They're really meant to further your critical thinking and analysis skills. Let's see. So Jess asked, my kid is a rising 8th grader, so that's level 3. Which level is this class? So, I mean,
critical reading and writing?
Earlier we did mention that this rhetoric one, it's for grade 5 to 7, right?
Right.
And if you want to look at the other levels of courses, they're online, and our critical reading and writing class for if your son's in 8th grade, then it'll be level 3. So we have our level 3 regular and level 3 honors class. I'm gonna go ahead and put that link inside of our chat box real quick, so you can check that out. Yeah. Thanks for asking. That's a good question. But yeah, this class right now was an intro to our 5th to 7th grade students, or extremely advanced 4th graders.
Yeah, and by the way, that was a shortened lesson. So, I wasn't sure how much time I had, but normally that lesson would take longer. We would be doing more questions and answers. I'd be, interacting more with the students. But I want to just give you an idea of, how I take students through something like that.
Okay, yeah, I put the link to the level 3 course in the chat box, just in case your child is in between grades 7 to 9. It really depends on, like, choosing the class really depends on your students' current performance and capacity to learn. But a lot of parents have been asking us, will this be able to help replace like actual school? And a lot of times we don't want it to necessarily replace, but oftentimes it will actually be much better. It really depends on the school that your child is attending, and especially now with distance learning in place and many schools, it's not very easy for a lot of the teachers to adapt to it. But in our case, 7EDU has been working on distance learning strategies for the past 6 years, and so we've really gotten it down to a formula, working very closely with our students and making sure that we work closely with the parents as well, that we really hone in on everyone's, strengths and weaknesses and try to unearth their potential as best we can. So I highly recommend you, give us a call and schedule a consultation so we can talk about your exact academic goals and needs and how we can help you achieve them. All right, let's see. And we got another question. This one asks, what are the lessons gonna be like? Is it gonna be like? I guess they're asking, is it gonna be like this? Like,
well, I try to use a lot of different variety of different things, so that it's not the same thing every lesson. So we might have a lesson like this where I just go through a specific speech or a poem or whatever it might be, and analyze it either for rhetorical or other reasons. And we might also, just during class, do some practice reading, comprehension skills, answer some comprehension questions, just to develop our comprehension skills. And some of it actually, even relates to, SAT prep, where a lot of the type of reading that you're being asked to do is similar to what you might do on an SAT. So we cover those kinds of skills as well, how to really, glean the most out of a short passage or paragraph. So there's a lot of different types of reading that we do. And I like to mix it up a little bit. So hopefully you don't get bored.
that's great. I'm getting ready for the SAT really early, huh? Yeah, Daniel, you raised your hand. Did you want to say something? We can open the mic for you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, well, I just asked in the chat, but no one answered. So, is the rest of class Q&A?
Today, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, I mean, that's a good question. Yeah. Did you
I
have?
didn't really know.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Oh, I just said that I didn't really know that time, so I asked.
Okay. I mean, you can ask him more about the lecture, about Pathos, Logos, Ethos.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions about the content of what the lesson was about or anything like that, be happy to answer that. I do have to say, since I'm just joining 7EDU, some of the questions about, specific classes and levels and like that, I'm not totally up to speed on yet. So bear with me on those. But anything about the content of the classes, I can definitely answer.
Yeah, and Jess, you asked for a level 3 teacher Zoom introduction. Amy is probably teaching a class right now. She's one of our head instructors. She's the one that's teaching level 3, and she's really an amazing instructor. And I've actually put up a sample on our Facebook page for you to see kind of her teaching style, and you guys can check that out. Just make sure you join our Facebook group and like our page, and you can see. Um, in the future, we'll be uploading more and more teacher samples, and hopefully we'll be able to fit in more of our K through 8 teachers in our podcast episodes like this. It'd be great to have Amy on too, and we might make that happen soon. But she, of course, our teachers are very, very busy. We teach small group classes, and they're very, very focused on each and every student. So I'm sorry, we can't actually do a level 3 teacher Zoom introduction right now at this moment, but maybe in the future. Thanks for asking though, Jess. If you'd like to schedule a consultation, feel free to message us, email us at info@7edu.org. We'll be happy to talk to you more about that. Okay, and let's see, any questions? So, let's see. All right, if there's no more questions, then we're gonna wrap it up. Last call.
Well,
All right.
I just also want to say, even though I can't see most of your faces, it's been nice meeting all of you. I hope to see some of you or some of your students or some of your children in my classes, and looking forward to working with everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lori, for having this event with us, and
You're welcome.
thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I'm gonna put our contact information into the chat box. Feel free to reach out to us at any time. We'll be happy to help you and figure out your academic goals and how we can help you achieve them. That's the goal of 7EDU. And if you haven't signed up for our upcoming open class this Saturday, it's on optimized distance learning with June teaching, our founder, CEO, and head instructor. And our registration form, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat box as well right now. And yeah, just feel free to reach out anytime you have a question. You know where to reach us, 7edu.org. And everybody have a good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.